Very good evening to all of you. Hi, everyone.
Hi, good evening.
Very good
Good evening,
evening,
sir.
Nikhil. All good?
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Okay, we are almost like 2/3 into the um course, but we have MEP, basically reinforcement, and then we have something called extended properties, and then report generating, and the 3D. Okay, most importantly, 3D measurements. Yeah, so those are the areas that are left now. Today we are going to look at how to price the BOQ. Okay, of course we need to complete the Windows section, right? Block work we have just started, um, and I will show you how to count the windows. Windows nothing actually, but there's a technique. Window counting is not good enough. We all know because you need to do the deductions, right? When you do the block work or the finishes, you need to do the deduction. So uh, it is important that you use certain kind of methodology, like what we used to do when we measured the slab, concrete slabs thicknesses, right? We use three methods. If you can remember, we use the negative dimensions as it is to deduct the areas that are not, let's say, particular thickness. And then we used another method using using the workbook itself. You can adjust the measurements. Now you know that it is possible. So workbook method we did, and then dimension groups. You can copy one dimension group to another dimension group, and then you can make negative. You can make them negative dimensions. So that is also available, but then you need to be very careful when you import, or sorry, when you copy a dimension group to another dimension group. The property of the original dimension group, or I used to call as mother dimension group, will remain when you copy one, let's say 400 millimeter thick into 200 millimeter thick slab. It goes as 200 millimeter thick slab because the areas will only be taken. You understood that part, right? So um, you need to be very careful at the in the very let's say in the parent dimension group, right? We have defined the properties. Let's say thickness if defined because we measure the area, right? So when you copy another dimension group into another, then let's say 250 millimeter thick slab, it takes the area and multiplied by 0.25 because we have already defined 0.25 as the thickness. So you need to be careful there. That's all. Uh, you need to do with a great understanding. Otherwise, you will make mistakes. Okay. So CostX is not, I would say, it's not magic, right? 3D measurements, of course, everything is automatic. But here, since we are measuring in 2D drawings, PDF and AutoCAD or an image, we need to be careful because you are the man. The quantity survey should know how to use these tools, and you need to be very mindful how to use these tools and get the desired outcome or the correct outcome. Right. So that is where we stopped, and we'll continue from there. I turn off the video. I open CostX and I'll share the screen first. Right. I'll open Muscat Hotel building under default project. And then when you go to drawing, and that is where we were. Right. Right. So we last week we measured type T1 blockwork, type 1 blockwork in other words, right? And then we produced the 3D view also. And this is the masonry superstructure, what type 1 we have measured. And then I explained how to deduct the windows, like what we did in the slab thicknesses, right? What we measured 250 millimeter thick in the method 1, and then we deducted the negative dimensions. So similarly here, we measured the length because the height has been defined as 3 point how much? You can find out, right? Double click on that, yeah, height has been defined as 3.4 across the entire building here. But if you have to have, let's say, separate wall, separate heights, then you need to define heights separately. Now in this case, I have taken 3.4 as the default height. So using default height, I have measured the linear meter length, and then you get the area here, and then deducted the negative dimensions, window openings, right? We have defined the openings. Yeah, you can see here. So with that, you can go to this, you can see the deductions here, right? Right. So that is how we did. Because we knew that when you do the negative dimensions, the height also will be taken as 3.4, but then you have to come and change it, right? Because window height is not the same as wall height. So we knew that when we generated the 3D view. So we had to adjust the window heights, and also we had to adjust the offsets to make it more practical like this, right? So that is where we were. Yeah. And then we can continue. Okay, then the other method we know, now we have learned from when we measured the concrete structure, or basically the slab thicknesses, that we can adjust the deduction from the workbook itself. For that, you have to measure the windows first. Like we measured 400 millimeter thick slabs, 500 millimeter thick slabs, and 600 millimeter thick slabs at the very beginning in the other methods. But you have to measure all the thicknesses other than 250, and then you can do the deductions when we measured the 250 millimeter thick under method 2 and method 3, right? So you can use the same thing here. Now in this case, I have used, or I have measured the blockwork first. Remember the sequence. I have measured the blockwork first and then deducted the openings. For that, of course, you need negative dimension. Right? That's what we did here. Right? And now you don't have to do that when you do the measurements of the windows first, because you all know windows. If you know the window sizes, then you can copy that window sizes into wall type 1 and make it negative dimensions, and then you can change the height also, like what you did in 400 or when you measure the 250 millimeter thick slab. So same concept, right? So normally what we do is when we measure a particular project, the first thing we do is basically counting the windows, but not only counting is not enough. That is only for the window section, yes, door section, but you need to do the proper deductions, right? When you measure the First, when you measure the block work, and then secondly, when you measure the finishes, wall finishes, especially. Right. So you need to understand the sequence. You need to understand the relationship. Right. Now, let us use windows now today. Okay. And then how we can use another thickness or another type. Let's say now we have measured type 1. So let us measure another blockwork type and then apply these opening deductions, not as negative dimensions, but you can copy that windows into blockwork dimensions group and do the deductions. Or we can use the uh, workbook to deduct the window openings, either way. Right. So let's do that now. Right. So we have measured wall type 1, which is 75 square meters, and this is what we did. So we use this method, and I have explained why some of the windows will not be seen on the 3D because they are lying on the same line. So if you just give little bit of movement here, you will see those red openings on the 3D. Right. So this is just an example of how we did wall type 1. Okay. Now today we'll work out the windows here. Okay. If you want to measure windows, the BOQ, you always have to create a dimension group like what we do, right, when we measure the substructure. Right. So window W1, W2, W3, W4, and so on. And D1, D2, D3. So whatever the door types, whatever the window types, you need to create dimension groups. There's no option but to create. Okay, when we measure the 2D drawing. Right, so let us measure. We'll come back to measurements again of the block work when we complete the measurement of doors and windows. Let's say windows, for example, in this case. Right, it's the same principle when you measure the doors. Right, so let us measure, let's say, a window. Right, let us measure these windows. Then can you follow me? Go to drawing, sorry, dimensions, and then you have to create a dimension called W1. Right, name W1, correct? And then let's say doors and windows section. So let us do that. One, it's not masonry now, right? Folder structure could be can do the other way around. It can be superstructure. Let's say doors and windows, right? So you can say windows if you want. Superstructure, let's say windows. Right. So that is a folder that you are creating here in the dimension groups. It is up to you, right? Window type W1. Measurement type. What do you select measurement type? I select measurement type as length. You must be wondering. It has to be normally count because windows will be counted, right? Those will be counted. If you take for me or if you take even SLS 573 here, doors and windows will be in numbers. So it has to be a count. But we know from CostX, we have to be more proactive in CostX because we also want to catch the areas. While we are measuring, we want to catch the areas of the windows and doors because we need to do later deductions. Therefore, I measure this as length and default display in area or wall area, like area on the wall. Because we all know when we capture the length and the wall area, we all know count is also automatically captured. Can you remember when you drag and drop the quantities, the count is also there. I will show you again. Therefore, this is tricky. Everyone will be expecting you to mark measurement type as numbers and default type as also numbers. Then you won't be able to get the areas properly. So what you do is basically you measure the length of the windows or doors, right? Given the height, and you automatically capture the count and the wall area. Wall area will be very important for the deductions. So default display W1, if you can remember, W1 was 1.8, right? Window type was 1.8. Length we are measuring anyway. Window height was 1.8. Let us double check from the drawing. Muscat Hotel. Yeah, it was here. Yeah, 1.8. We don't have to define this one because this is what we are going to measure anyway. 800, 1200 will be measured from the plan. And height is 1.8, so we have made it 1.8. Offset is not exactly necessary because you can still, if you work and what you can define default offset also. When you generate the 3D, you can see that. Right. Now we are not going to measure this as a negative dimension because anyway, we are going to measure W1, W2, and so on. Right? Can you make a new dimension group called W1 and define the parameters like this quickly and say insert. I'll give you 1 minute. I saw there's a WhatsApp message saying that your point mode or line mode was not working. Firstly, when line mode and point mode is working when you are ready to measure. That means you have to be on the dimensions tab and you have to click on a particular drawing because that is what you are going to measure. And also you have to select a particular dimension group. So if everything is selected, the point mode should be working. If not, just exit from CostX and come back. Point mode will not work when you are in the drawing module tab, okay? Because when you are measuring from dimensions tab, remember, you are measuring from dimensions tab. Drawing, yeah, add drawings, delete drawings, that sort of thing. Your measurement activity will take place when you are in the dimensions tab. And you have to select one particular drawing, then this will be obviously activated, one of these. Right, are we ready? So can I say insert? Right, I'm ready now. I don't see any because I'm in a different dimension group. I'm not in wall type 1, right? I'm in a different dimension group as soon as I have created W1. Now I'm ready to measure W1. You can see here. Okay, what you have to measure? Now you have to measure this as a point. You are not going to count now because you say you have selected square meters. Windows W1 you measure in square meters, W2 in square meters, W3 in square meters. I'll tell you why. Right? When you prepare the BOQ, when you drag and drop, you can count or you can get the count also automatically. Right. So let us measure in this wall. Let us measure W1. I'm not going to measure the entire W1 in the entire building. Let us focus on this particular block work wall. Okay, external wall. Right. So W1. Right. So point mode. Right. Now you can see 1 square meter. Right. 2. 3. 4. That's all. I mean, this is the same principle, right? Everywhere. If you even measure the G11, right? You measure this as a length, right? And then you will get certain square meters here, and then you see here W1. Here I have missed out one. Let us measure that one as well, right? Right, that's all. So you have measured all W1s here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, and then W2. Right. So W1 7 square meters. In this case, and if you can measure all the other W1s are also here, can measure as there are W1s here as well. But let's measure only this because I just wanted to show you the principle. Right. So W1, let's say I have measured W1 on this wall. So that is only 7 square meters. And we'll measure the W2 also. Has everyone got 7 square meters of W1 up to grid 5? Up to grid 5 here. I just wanted to show you the principle. Let's say if you have W1 to W25, whatever, then you have to make dimension groups up from W1 to W25. Let's say you have door type 10 door types, D1 to D10. Then obviously you have to create door types or dimension groups for door type D1 to D10. Very simple. But we measure in areas. That is the difference. Now you understand as a quantity survey why I am doing this. I just can count in numbers, no problem. Then whenever I want to deduct those openings, I'll have tough time. So that's why I do this way. But when you want to get into the BOQ as W1 how many numbers and W2 how many numbers, it is simple. I will show you now. Right. Everyone has got 7 square meters of W1. Can you drop me a message? Yeah, good.
Hello.
Have you got it? Just drop me a
Hello, sir.
message. Yeah, proceed.
If any different size, that mean 10 type of windows, that mean different sizes.
Yes.
Then do we have to make the 10 folders? Or
Yeah,
W2
exactly.
is or
Yeah,
then a big folder structure will come, right?
yeah.
Under the those so windows, right? W1,
Yeah.
W2, W3,
2,
like that.
W3, W4, W5, and so on. Yes, we have to create. Why I will tell you now why we have to do that.
And
The
wall
now
also same, the right? The difference beam heights are there. Under that difference beam walls are coming. Okay, 3.4 height, 3 meter height,
correct.
3.2 height. This
Yeah,
similar way the wall type also folders coming.
we yeah folders into the dimension groups we will have to do like wall type T1, right?
That
Let's
mean
say
that
wall.
is 3.4.
Yeah,
Then 2
that's
is
correct.
3.2 like that, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
Now, if you want, okay, that I have another solution for that. You don't have to create all these things. You
Uh,
can create only one type, but you go
uh,
to, it's a good question. You go to
uh,
dimension group now, go to the
uh,
breakdown. Now, if you want only this one, let's say this one is, let's say, not 3.4, you can change it from here, only that part.
uh,
Let's
uh,
say, let's say it is only 5, let's say it is only 3.8 or whatever, you change it from there. It's a good question. Let's say I just change it, okay? I'll change it to 4 meters. Since you have asked
because
the question,
in
it's
mm,
a very good question. And then you can take one by one, you can change, though it is in the
usually
same dimension group. Now
Usually in
in
the
the D
BOQ, the walls are categorized in external and internal and based on the thickness. I
thickness,
mean,
that's correct.
yes, 4, 5 walls.
Yeah, correct. Or
That's
you can measure like type wise. Type 1 block work this much. Type 2 block work this much. Type 3 block work would be this much because there is a type. So for that
yes,
type, probably there's a description attached to that. Some of the block work may be fire rated, isn't it? 200
yes.
millimeter thick, let's say fire rated block wall. And then you have let's say cavity block wall, 400 millimeter thick cavity block wall. That is your type 1. So you can go this way, or you can segregate into thicknesses. Either way.
Ah, 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 ah.
But it's a
Yes,
good
yes, yes, yes.
question. You don't have to create so many, what do you call, when you measure the block work with different heights,
Mm.
you measure as a single height across. And then if you want to change the height from there, what you can do is you can go to the breakdown of each wall. You can see here how I
Ah, ah,
selected the wall. And then there you double click and change the default height here.
yes.
That is the easiest way.
Ah, okay, okay,
That's
okay.
a good question, huh?
Okay, okay, okay.
And sometimes if you want to make negative, or you can change offset also. Let's say one window is 1 meter above, the other window is maybe 1 point. That is not the case, but I'm just saying
Yes.
offset also if you want, you can change. A lot of things can be changed when you go to this breakdown, the dimensions tab of under particular dimension group.
But similar solution not there for the windows, different window size, right?
Window sizes are not there because anyway, there's no option but to measure
No
window
option, right?
sizes. W1 is different from W2 anyway.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Problem is,
Okay.
or not the problem,
Mm.
you must be feeling, okay, this will take a lot of time. Like probably you can do it manually faster than this. I
Yes.
agree for the first one. But you know what happens when you do when you measure the second project,
Uh,
you can import all this dimension group into another project if you want.
ah, ah, ah.
You don't have to. It's like you are you are taking a template from previous measurement and then do another measurement, another building with the same dimension group. So you populate in the first one, and then you can take this one into another project very easily. Then of course you need to change the sizes and all, of course, because sometimes sizes may vary. But if it is a single project or maybe in the same project, so W1 will be common for all the buildings, isn't it? You are
Yes.
measuring the Muscat hotel building. Let's say you have
Mm,
accommodation building on the same project. So you can measure the accommodation building like what we do now. And then when you create the next building called accommodation building, you can even import all the dimension group into a next project, right? Without the measurement. I'm not talking the measurement. I
mm,
don't want 75 square meters because that is coming from another building. But the
yes.
dimension groups that you can bring to the another project. I will show you that later. When you create a project, you can do that.
Okay, okay.
I'll do it right now because that is a good question anyway. Now I will close this, okay? Okay, first let us measure W1 and W2. Then
Okay.
I'll show you another, yeah. So W1, 7 square meters. Now we'll make a copy of this. We'll make a copy and make it as W2 like what we used to do. And same superstructure, we don't need dimensions. It has to be 0 normally. Right now we'll measure W2 quickly. Right? We are measuring length, remember, not the count. Sorry. W1. Sorry, W2. Yeah, that's all right. W2 on this wall and W1, 4 numbers, sorry, 5 numbers here. Yeah, that's all. So 6 square meters. Uh, don't forget to change the height. Okay, default height was always 1.8, both windows, so not a problem. So if you have, let's say, 10 window types, you have to do 10 times, W1, W2, W3, and so on. But you can make a copy and you have to create different dimension groups or different windows and doors also. And it is coming as 6 square meters. Are we done? I'm measuring only one this section, okay? From grid C to A here and from 1 to 5 here. That's all. There's no point of counting only. I just wanted to show you the principle and then apply into a real situation when you do it. If you have 10 windows, of course, you have to create 10 with 10 dimension groups. There's no option. And when you measure doors, similarly, you have to create a dimension group called doors. under DOS, D1 or D2 or D3 or DW, whatever, D11 or whatever, it goes on. And then again measure in square meters because we want to deduct later on. Right, are we done? Right. So you can use the same principle. Now let's say let's say you have not deducted the walls, sorry, windows. Can you remember? So let's say I am going to delete all the negative dimensions here and then use these windows opening sizes to get the 75 square meters. Now I use this one and go to dimensions and I remove all the negatives. Right, I'll remove negatives like what I did in slabs. Let's say I have only measured the dimension, the doors. Not delete all dimension, delete dimensions. Right. Now I'm getting about 88 because I know I have not deducted this thing. I have only measured because normally what we used to do is we will measure the windows and doors first, right? Before we measure the wall, block work. That is normal quantity surveying practice, right? So windows and doors will be measured first. So let's measure. So let's say we have measured the windows and doors, everything together in the first place, and now we are going to measure wall type 1. Now, how do you incorporate these W1s and W2s into this? Two methods. One is you can deduct W1 and W2 when you measure the, through the workbook, right? That is one method. I'm not going to do it again because we have already done it when we measure the concrete. The other method is now you can take this dimensions now, go to the breakdown, each one, right? Let's say W1, W2, and so on. Right? You can copy this one if you can remember. You can copy dimension to another dimension group, right? You don't measure as negative, right? So let's copy to what? Copy to wall type 1 and see what happens. Right? I did that now. Let's go and see. Now it has become 102. Cannot be. Why? Why it has increased? Because it is not negative now.
Plus negative.
Plus. Now you have to make it negative, right? You have to create, you have to select these negative ones. These are the deductions, right? You selected all 5 and then make negative. Here we go. Done. Right? If you just click on that, you will see now. The problem is the height goes at 3.4 because the parent dimension group has a height of 3.4. So that has to be also changed, right? So that is also possible. You change the height either one by one to double click and change, or you can say change height, right? So what you can do is you select again everything. Sorry. Change the height because all the windows are same. So height is 1.8, isn't it? Yeah, done. Now you see what happens. 188, right? It was 75 or something, no, at the very beginning. So you do the same thing for the W2 also. what we did was W1. So you do the same thing for the W2. So you can say copy dimension group to wall type 1. Oh, sorry. Right. This is fine. Yeah. Go to the breakdown of W2 and then copy. Copy dimension. Remember, you can't do here. You can't do directly from here. You can't copy and take those dimensions into another group here. So you have to get into the breakdown of that dimension and then say copy. Copy dimension another group. Okay. Wall type 1. Right. And then done. Right. It is gone. Now the problem is if you go to dimensions, breakdown, you can see these are yeah. 1, 2, 3. These are the three. Firstly, you need to make negative, but then you have to change height as well. You can do individually or change height 1.2, 1.8. It's a similar principle like what you did in slab thicknesses. Then you get 75 back. Now you see you have not used negative dimension at the very beginning to measure the windows first, and then we use these dimension groups to do the deductions here using the dimension groups. But you can also do while you are preparing your workbook. But can you practice that? I'll give you 2 minutes. Now, since you have measured W1, W2, I want you to copy this W1 into wall type 1 and W2 into wall type 1 and then make negative dimensions, and then I want you to change the height as well, because it goes when you copy W1 into wall type 1, W1 dimensions will get the height of wall type 1. You need to change the height. How do you do that? You have to click on that and go to dimensions and then copy. Then only you have to copy and uh, import those things into wall type 1. Right. Can you practice that? Now you can see the negative dimensions are already marked. I have used this windows to detect the openings. Are we okay? Just drop me a message here. Okay, done. Today no response. Dushan, Malinder, Tusit, good. How about others? Siva, are you okay? Please drop me a message so I know that you have got it. Okay, good. I'm getting responses now. That's good. Right. So going back, now you understand this, how it works. Now I go to workbook because I want to put into the BOQ now. Right. I was in the substructure concrete work. Now I want to go into the masonry, let's say. So if you want to go into the masonry, what you do is normally you click on this because this is level 1 and click on the subtotal, double click on subtotal rather, and that is where you can include your BOQ. Not, I'm not going to like copy and paste the BOQ. I'll say block work, right? This is my BOQ. Let's say I'm typing the BOQ type 1. Let's say I measure type 1 and quantity, and we know the square meter, the area square meter. So what you do is you drag, sorry, now you go to quantity and double click, you go to the next level, and that is the measurement level, and you drag and drop, right? Here, wall area, yes, wall area, and you can say level 1 because you have not any, you have measured only one level, right? Ground floor, so I don't care about it, so I'll just say update. So I have all the quantities here. Now I can see 75 square meters here. Now you can see, let's assume this is our BOQ, right? Type 1. Let's do the same thing for the doors and windows now. Let's say doors and windows, okay? I'll go to double, right? I'll copy this one here. I have the BOQ section of doors and windows in anyway. If you want, okay, doors and windows. I'll take only windows for the moment. Yeah, I'll take this. And copy here. Okay. This numbers has to be here. Right. So this is your proper BOQ description. So what you do is you go here. You can't drag and drop here. You go to the measurement level and drag and drop. Now, if you want, you can drop here as a count. Okay. But then you don't select the wall area now. Why we have done the wall area? Because we want to do the deductions when we measure the block work and all. So what I do is I select the count. You can see now. Can you remember we had W1 5 numbers? And now I select the count here. So it is not necessarily you select the count at the first place. So you select the square meters because you want to do the deductions. But when you really include the numbers of windows and doors in the BOQ, then from here you can select the count. Here we go. W1 5 numbers. Very simple. Right? W2, let's say. Again, same, double click and drag and drop. You can put anywhere, okay? That's not a problem. And then select count here. Done. Three numbers. We all know. We had 5 and 3. Right? And then you go back and you see 3 numbers and 5 numbers of windows. You see, when you do that, it's very easy. Billing is very easy. Put into the billing is very easy. You copy one of the BOQs into this BOQ descriptions and then you drag and drop the quantities. Right? Wall type also same. I didn't copy the description there because this description and what we have measured is different. So wall type 1. So what I did was I created a small BOQ section like, there should be description here. And I say wall type 1 this much. Let's say wall type, we'll measure another wall type. Let's say, okay, we'll measure another wall type. Okay, once this is done, we'll measure another wall type just for you to get more confidence. And we'll put that one also to here. Right. Right. So let us do this window. Those and windows BOQ like this. You can copy from your Excel BOQ and paste it here. And then the numbers, of course, you can drag and drop. And when you drag and drop, you can select the numbers, not the wall area now, because we all know windows will be measured in numbers. Though we have measured here in square meters because we wanted to do the deductions. This is dimension group. So it is not necessarily be the same unit as the BOQ. Please let me know when you are ready. So it is the same with DW1, DW2, DW3, and so on. You can just create dimension group called D1, D2, D3, and so on. You can just drag and drop. But still, we measure the doors also in square meters in the dimension groups. Right. Everyone has done it. Just drop me a message, please, once you do. We'll measure one type of door wall type again. Anyone has completed? I mean W1, W2. I have copied from this BOQ. Like I used to copy concrete sections, and the same BOQ I have used as doors and window section, W1 and W2 descriptions only. If you want, you can type the description, but it takes time, you know. Okay, can we move? And similarly, the block work. Block work, I did not create proper BOQ or masonry section. I just created my own BOQ here. I just typed it. Or you can, if you want, you can just copy from here. But these descriptions are quite different because it goes as thicknesses. You all know it goes as thicknesses here. You can measure type 1, type 2, type 3, and so on, and then you can segregate into thicknesses later. You can do it in the measurement sheet. Right. So let us quickly measure another, sorry, go to drawings. Let us measure easy one. I'm just okay. Let's measure this T7, but let's say T7 and then no, you don't have a window there or door there for you to deduct. Let us take this is also wall type 1. Let's take a wall type 1 with a deduction, then it would be easy. This is T7, but you don't have a deduction here. Here also T7, you don't have a deduction there. T1 I have already measured here. T1 you have, then you have to measure G12, G11. You have to create dimension groups if you want to deduct. Here, okay. Okay, let's measure this one. T8, okay. T8, but then you have to measure this door. So let us create G1E here. not as windows, it's a separate one as doors. And then let us measure that door first and then measure the block work here. Okay, so we are going to measure T8. Okay, let us create a copy of this dimension group as T8. Okay, first. Okay, and masonry superstructure, fine. You don't have to copy all the dimensions, so it has to be 0 here. And then the depth, the height, I'll keep it as 3.5. You need to double check on that. Others are fine. Right. So I have created something called wall type 8. But before that, I want to measure this G1E, right? Door. So let us create again a dimension group. Add dimension group. Doors. Right. Superstructure doors. Superstructure doors. I want to measure in linear meters. Default display is wall area. Height, there's no default height because it's a door. Door is from the ground floor level. Sorry, default offset. Default height, let's say 2.1. I'm just taking 2.1, okay? Height of the door is 2.1. You have to check from the doors and windows schedule, by the way. So once there is name is required in the field. Okay, sorry. So, sorry, what is it? D1E. Yeah, D1E. Yeah, that is your door. Right, done. Now you can see D1E, and you are going to measure this D1E door first. Okay. You're going to measure as point mode from here to here. Right, done. Right, D1E measured, and I've got 2 square meters. Now I'm ready to measure T8. How do you measure T8 now? Right, you measure T8 now. You take T8 here and you measure with the door now. Correct? You measure with the door from here to here direct. Right. Wall type 8, 14 square meters, but the problem is we know that you need to deduct this the G1E. Not as a negative dimension, you can use this one to deduct. Right. So how do you do that? Now you can bring this, you can copy D1E into wall type 8. But for that, you go to D1E dimensions, and there you copy dimension to another dimension group called wall type 8. And first you copy. Right, now you go there for type 8, go to breakdown. Right, this is the dimension. Right, you need to make negative now. Right, done. But the problem is you have to change the height. Because when you copy that one into wall type 8, it takes the height of 3.4. You can see here 3.5. Right, so you change the height. Change the height to 2.1. Right, done. Done. So if you want to double check what the best you can do is you go to drawing and see 3D view. Here we go. Now you can see. Earlier, when you copy, this door height will be coming up to the 3.5 level because it takes the property of the parent dimension group when you copy. So you need to come and adjust the size of that dimension. So that's what I did. I changed the height to again 2.1. It doesn't go as 2.1 when you copy from one to another. Right. So that is how, if you want to see all the superstructure block work, this is how it is. Of course, you don't see all the windows here because of the lining issue. If you go there, it's kind of an alignment issue, right? Now let's see. Now you can see. Still, you can't see this one. You too. Now you can see. Here it is only part you can see. Now, at least now you can see how the model is, the measurement model. Now you have just learned how to do things from the PDF also, right? Earlier we have measured from AutoCAD, the concrete and the substructure. Now we have measured from PDF, the masonry, and we know how to measure doors and windows now, and the block work, right? You can change the height of the panels, right, one by one, through the dimensions. You can change the heights if you want, different heights, because we know uh, the beams will have different depths. So the measurement, the masonry wall heights also will be slightly different. So firstly, you can measure with a constant height, and then you can come back and change the heights according to your structural drawings. Right, you can adjust. Right now, can you create this model and drop me a message when you are done? I'll pick a glass of water, okay? Right, is everyone fine? Has everyone generated this model? Just let me know. I'll give you 1 minute. Right. Now we include this T7 also, sorry, T8 also into the BOQ. So for that, we have to go to the workbook, right? Go to masonry and go to level 2. That is the BOQ, and then wall type 8. So I didn't write a proper BOQ description there. In your case, you can copy and paste here. So go to the, okay, it has to be square meters, and then go to the measurement level and then just drop. What you need is wall area. Just a second. Right, so it's 12.23 square meters, and this is what you see here. And that is your BOQ basically, and that this is your summary. Okay, why all these are 0? Because I'll show you why. Because we have not put the rates here. Right, you can convert this to an estimate very easily. That's what we are going to look at today. How to price the BOQ with a rate library. Okay, since we have discussed this, I just wanted to show you something that I have not discussed before. How you change the decimals here in the BOQ. In the description, of course, in the measurement level, yes, I have shown you how to do that from here. Right. From here, you can change the decimal numbers, first decimal, round, and all these things. Okay, you can see here. You can change it. Right, but as far as BOQ is concerned, this is a measurement level. And let's say if you want to get it in, let's say in first decimal, for some reason, you want to change your decimal here in the quantity column to first decimal in the BOQ. Or in our case, we call it as workbook. How do you do that? You have to do it from a setting, not from here. You can do it from here also, but then you have to do individually. That is not possible, no? Unlike in Excel, you can't like round off, right? There's no equation for you to do that. You can see the equations are automatically linked, and we didn't introduce any of the equations here. Or everything is linked when you drag and drop. Now, if you want to change to first decimal, the quantity, so we have to do it from here, file. So let us study that as well, how to change the decimals in the BOQ. Okay. Right. It's done from here. You have to go to file, and then here you have something called options. At files, options. And here you can see here again, most of the administrative work, IT administrative work or the administrative work of the CostX will happen in these file tabs. File, options. And you have general drawing. You can see, just click on this, you will see a lot of things, right? General, this is the license, what do you call, details of the license. Okay. And then measurement system metric, you can use imperial also if you want, like feet and inches. I'll come to that. I'll explain that one later. And also I have explained at the very beginning also, like how to create feet and inches. I'll change it when we measure the reinforcement as well. And then you have drawings. You can see there are so many parameters that you can change as settings. Workbook. That is where you change your decimal. Save sheet, rename workbook, write quantity and quantity and quantity. Right. Default decimal places to display on cost sheets. Right. And default decimal places are to display on quantity sheet. Quantity sheet is quantity rate. This is the quantity column and the rate column. And now in this case, default decimal, if you want, okay, count as, let's say default, let's say 1 or 0. You don't need any count. Length as 2, width as 2, right? Height, quantity as 1. So that's why you can see 1 decimal here. So you can change the settings here. You can see, okay, subcontracted workbook is not here yet. Decimal place display on rate sheets, right? If you are making a rate sheet, quantity, let's say 1, rates 2, total 2. So likewise, you can change the settings here and then make or use whatever the settings that are usable to you. Okay, default display on quantity. So we can make everything 0 here. And you can change the settings here by changing it, right? Now this is what we have done is quantity into 1 decimal. Yeah, that's why you can see quantity into, let's say, 2 decimals. Let's see what happens. Actually, that has to happen at the very beginning, okay? When you create decimal new workbook, you can set your decimal places directly. And now once you do that, it's very difficult to change. Otherwise, you have to change from here, okay? It says round to more decimal places. You can see decrease decimal places, increase decimal, like what you normally do. Right? So file, options, and I'll come back to this one because I have to show you certain other things also here. And remember, we change the workbook here. Okay, from workbook only you change the decimal places. Right, so I'll keep it this way at the moment. Right, there are certain changes, settings that you can set here. Right, so I'll keep this one for the moment. Right, now I've created substructure, concrete, masonry, and then doors and windows for the moment. Right, finishes, of course, it's very simple now. If you have 10 finishes, F1 to F10, you have to create two 10 dimension groups, floor finishes, wall finishes, ceiling finishes, and so on. You have to just follow the same way that you have followed other, like for example, area measurements. Now you know how to get the area measurements, right? When we measure the PCC, you did the area measurements. So similarly, finishes also, it's a matter of creating a dimension group for each finish type. If you are measuring floor areas, F1, then you measure the areas. F2, you measure the areas. F3, you measure the areas. And when you measure the walls, finishes W1, let's say, that is where you need to be careful because you need to deduct windows and door openings. Right. Ceilings, of course, again, C1, C2, C3, and so on. You have to measure the areas and include. Or sometimes if you can, since you have measured the floor areas already, right, you can use the workbook to measure or to calculate the ceiling areas as well. Right. If you have a reflector ceiling plan, of course, then you can use the reflector ceiling plan to measure the ceiling finishes, but you have to create dimension groups accordingly. So I'm not going to measure any finishes because uh, it's it's a matter of creating dimension groups and then just measure the areas. Since I have shown you how to measure the areas both in substructure and also in the superstructure, when we measure the slab areas, right? You know how to measure the areas, like control. You can use the shift key and get the area. So it's easy. And then when you prepare the bill, you need to drag and drop appropriate quantities. That's all. Now I just wanted to show you something different. Now let's say we have the substructure B, BOQ, and I want to convert this one into an estimate, right? I want to convert this one into an estimate. For that, okay, you have the BOQ now for the substructure part. Let's say superstructure part complete. Let's say doors and windows complete. Let's say the finisher sections complete and the masonry section complete. Now you want to price the BOQ. Let's say you are a tenderer or you are a contracting QS, contractors QS, and you are working in the tender department and you want to price this BOQ. You have already prepared the BOQ or you have got the BOQ from the consultant in a CostX form. Now you can open your file in your CostX and then you can price it now, right? Most important, most simple way is, of course, what you can do is you can just type the price here. Let's say excavation is 1,500 Sri Lankan rupees, okay? And just per cubic meter. Same 1,000, maybe 800. So you just price like what you do normally in in Excel, right? Foundation, blinding is let's say 32,000 per cubic meter, and then foundation, let's say 40,000 nowadays. That's all. 40,000. Right, tie also 40,000, and you get the figures here. Simple. You get the summary here. So that is how you convert this BOQ into an estimate. But I'm going to do it different way. I'm going to create a database. This we all know, right? We are trying to create a database or price library or rate library and then price this one. Now I will show you how to create a database or rate library, right? This is how you do. Let's say you have all the prices in an Excel sheet. I just wanted to show you that, and I want to have you also, right? Late life. Right. I'll close this. Now here we go. Okay. Okay. Let's say I will share this file with you now in the WhatsApp group. Can you take this rate library Excel sheet and download it? You download it and keep it. I'm going to use it now. Can everyone download from the WhatsApp group? Right. Let's assume that you have this kind of data in an Excel sheet, right? And before that, I just wanted to tell you that Excel sheets cannot be automatically imported into CostX file. Excel sheet in this Excel format, you cannot abstract the data and put into the CostX file. So to do that, you have to convert this one into something called CSV file. CSV, comma delimited file. You all know it is CSV. You have to convert this Excel sheet. Excel files come with .xlx extension, correct? Now you have to convert this one into .csv. So we call it as CSV files. So how do you convert this one into a CSV file? Normally, CSV file will not have this kind of blank columns, right? And it has a specific formats. And this is, let's say, item code, description, unit, and the BOQ rates. Let's say you have a rate library in your organization. In most of the organization, you have a rate library. And this row is normally called header row, right? And these are called register or what do you call entry, right? These one are all entries in a database or records, you can say. These are the records. And this is the header row. So what it does is basically you have to convert this one into a particular format like this. You cannot have any blank rows. right? It will be, so when you, in other words, when you convert this one into a CSV file, you see what happens. So first of all, take this Excel sheet where you have all the rates. You can see most of the rates. You can say even windows. We can put windows. Here it is. Rate group window. Can you change it to W1 and W2? Right. W1 and W2. And you have basically rates in your organization, right? The rate library, and I want to import this rate library into CostX. Simple as that. Because I want to price this BOQ within the CostX. So in other words, you can see here in the workbook, if you go to these tabs, you have seen, you can see, you can bring some of the earthworks here. So I'll delete this one first of all, okay? These are previous one. You don't see this one, so I'm going to delete this. Okay. You have to do it from the panel itself. How you do that? Again, options, and you have double check system. We have to do it from here. You have costing here. I'll show you. And first of all, I need to remove this rate library that I have created. Right. So let me delete this one first, because then I don't. Otherwise, you can't see how you can incorporate this one. So material rate, labor rate. I'm going to delete everything. Okay. That's why you can see here. I delete this. I delete this. Okay, now you don't see anything. Okay, now you don't see when I put into the rate tab here. Now you are normally in the dimensions group tab. But you can see there are we have used these dimensions when you want to change the breakdowns. We have used these two dimension tabs. We haven't used any of these. Right now we are going to use this rates tab, because we can import the rates given in the Excel sheet here by using something called CSV file. So first of all, you have to convert this one into a CSV file. Even if you leave some blanks here, let's say by mistake, let's say you have some blanks, you see what happens when you create, when you convert this one into a CSV file, right? So take this one and then go to File, Save As, wherever, let's say CostX in my folder, I'll select the folder here and say test, okay? And here, save as type, you have to change it to CSV, not Excel. You are going to convert an Excel sheet into CSV file. So let us do that first, right? So again, cancel. And let's say this is your rate library is in Excel form. Your rate library is in Excel form, but in Excel form, you have to have in a particular order. You have to have item code, description. There's something called rate group and the unit of measurement and the rates. You have to convert your Excel sheet into this format first, even in Excel. Okay. No, ideally, you don't have to keep any blank columns or blank rows. Okay, let's say you have some blank rows and blank columns. That's fine. But as far as the table is concerned, it has to be in a particular format. Firstly, item code. Secondly, the description. Thirdly, a group, what kind of item it is. Fourth is the unit, and the fifth is the unit rate. So you have to order, or you have to arrange in this order in the Excel sheet. And you have to convert this one into a now called CSV file. How do you do that? You have to save wherever it is, let's say in the B60 folder in my case, and call rate library test. But here, save as type, you have to select as CSV. You have CSV, Macintosh, and DOS, and so on. But you have to select CSV, comma, delimited file, right? And save. In my case, I have already created a file. Therefore, I replace. In your case, you don't see this kind of a message. Done. Right. Now I have to exit from here and open the CSV file here. Now I have in here I have created a CSV file. This one here. You can see file type is CSV here. Now you open this. Now you see what happens. What happened to my Excel file? I had a nice Excel file, right? Green color, and then there were some columns, two columns, blank columns, and there were two rows. Nothing is there now. It has taken this format. Even though I had the Excel format, nice Excel format, when I convert an Excel file or Excel rate library into CSV file, this is how you will look like. This is how it will look like. It's okay. This is the format that can be imported into CostX in as a rate library. So can you convert your Excel sheet into this CSV file first? And it will look like this. And save in the same folder. So this is the one I have WhatsApp you now in the group. You should please download it. And you can see when you convert into a CSV file, all the other sheets also disappeared. Earlier we had three sheets. Can you remember? Let me open this again for you. And you had three sheets. correct? But when you convert, when you say file save as CSV file, when you take the extension of CSV, everything disappears and you get this kind of a file, and you don't see any other sheets also. You see only this sheet. Now we are ready. But everyone has converted my Excel file here. Right? You have converted this one into CSV file, and that is this. I think everyone has done that. Now you are ready to export this information into CostX. How you do that? Okay, let me do that. Now I can close this. Okay, I just close this. It is there. I have uh, I have saved it in this folder. In your case, you need to know where you have saved, and it shows as rate library test file extension if you want to see, right? Properties. You can see it shows as a CSV file. I can see it from here. Yeah, here you can see CSV file. Okay, it's not an Excel file anymore. We have converted Excel file into .csv extension file. Right. So you have to import this one into CostX. So how do you do that? That is what I'm going to show you now. Now you are going to bring all these rates in your CSV file here so that you can drag and drop here. So that is the idea. So since this is empty, earlier I had some files, so I have removed it. I want to bring it back now. I want to bring all the rate library that I have created by converting Excel file into CSV here. How do you do that? That is what you need to remember. File, system administration. Can you make a note, please? How to bring CSV file or rate library into CostX. Anyway, you will be watching this video again, and that time you have to make some short notes or flow charts. So how do you do that? File, system administration, and you can see this diagram, this what do you call dialog box. And here you have projects, location, constant. I'll come to this because this will be always useful. This system administration dialog box. And here you have something called costing here, general measurement. Right there, you can see units of measurement, standard variables, so on, standard dimension group, right? Custom quantities and blah, blah, blah. There are certain things, administrative things here. Here, costing. Under costing, you will see rate library. Is you have created the rate library in CostX and you have converted that one into CSV file because you want to import them into CostX. And how do you do that? Go to File at System Administration. Under System Administration, you use the Costing tab. Under Costing tab, you have something called Rate Library. You click here. Now you are ready. You click here. Now you are ready. Can you do that? Can you do that with me? File, go to system administration. Anyway, I hope you have created a CSV file, right? Right. And then file, system administration, and system administration dialog box. You have to click on costing tab. There, rate live. Now you see here plus import CostX CSV file. Now you can see you can bring that file in here, right? Right. So let us do that now. Okay. So rate library. Then what do? You import from this drop down arrow CSV file. Now you have to show that CSV file that you have created. Where did you create it? Costing B58 now. That's the last batch. Yeah, here. Rate library test. Yeah, because now I have see it created. You can see CSV file because it will only take CSV files to be taken. So I need to click on this because that is the file that you have created and saved as CSV file. And file extension is automatically taken as CSV here. When you click on insert, again I'll close this one and show you. When I click import CostX, and then you have to show you the file path and you have to show the file that you have created. So when you do that, automatically only the CSV file will be allowed to import. So your saved file, you have to select from here and say open. And you give a name, okay, rate library. So I'll say batch 58. Sorry, batch 50, sorry, batch 60. Rate library, batch 60. I'll give a name, location, leave it like that. I'll leave it as default location, okay? And say okay. Right? Location is required. Okay, location is in this case, um, as a default location because it's only one location. Otherwise, you can like you can give the location, let's say Sri Lanka or Oman, because rate library valid for particular region and particular country. So that is it is. I'll just select the default location in this case and say okay. Right, you can see now the rate library batch 16 created, 60 created. And you can see when I created this one here, you can see it is linked to my workbook. When I do that, it automatically linked to, it was not there, correct? Yeah. And now I have created a rate library called B60 here automatically when you add this one. Now let's say if you don't want this, let's say by mistake you have created an incorrect rate library here. What you do is that's what I did last time. So I select this one and delete. Or if you want to edit, let's say by mistake I have put B58, you can do that. I can edit this, right? And rate library code, whatever, you can change it. You can, if you want, you can lock even because somebody might can change otherwise. You can lock it, okay? So there are so many things you can do here and then edit, copy, right, delete. And if you want to import another one, you can do that. Let's say rate library for batch 61. or rate library for Oman, right? Rate library for Sri Lanka. So you can select, when you create a BOQ, you can select Sri Lankan rates or Oman rates. So likewise, whatever the rate library, if you want to add to this admin panel, you can add and keep it. Maybe Colombo rates, Candy rates, or maybe Muscat rate, Saudi rates. So likewise, you can keep everything in this and then select whatever you want to price. So I will leave it that way. If you want to upgrade, you can upgrade also. Just a second. Right. So, so you have added a rate library, then whatever the modification, and if you want to add another one, you can do it from here, right? Upgrade. I'll show you export later on, right? And if you want to do editing, you can do that as I just shown you. If you want to take a copy, you can do that. Now, at the moment, I live with this rate library and then just close because I have added it. So as long as I have added it, you can see that that file is now linked to this rates file, rates tab in the workbook. Earlier it wasn't there. Now when I click on this tiny arrow, you can see even with the categories like concrete, earthwork, formwork, PCC, rate group, right, window, everything is there, like discipline wise, because that is why this group has been given to them. So I have given, right, this earthwork item, this is earthwork item, PCC item, concrete item, of window item. So accordingly, CostX also has segregated these rates. If you want to see concrete rate, you have to click on this tiny arrow and you see concrete rates. And if you want earthwork rates here, you click on this, and if you need PCC on the single one, window W1 and W2. Okay, it goes as A1 and A2. Maybe I have taken different file or whatever, or maybe older file. It's okay. Now you have the rates. You understand? Now you have the rates because you have exported the rates in here. You have exported the rates in here into CSV file, and that CSV file has been exported to CostX now. Now it is part of the CostX. Now this is your rate library. You can drag and drop. Right. Before I do that, can you link your rate library like this and let me know? If I have to demonstrate it again, I will do that. Drop me a message. Right. Were you able to link this rate library file into CostX? Are we done? Just let me know. Siva, are you okay? Susit, yes, good. How about others? Pitana, yeah, Raghu, good. It's not big deal actually, right? What you need to do is when you convert your Excel file into CSV, because you have saved the CSV file somewhere in your computer. So it's a matter of file and go to system administration. There you will have costing and rate library. And from there you click import, and then import CostX CSV file. Then you show that file, go to the file path and select the file. That's all. And then open, then it will appear here. That's all. Once you do that, you can see the link has been created here as well. If you want to rename, you can do that. You can do editing. You can rename it. If you want to lock it, you can lock it. And if you, let's say, if you want to make a change here, I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that. If you want to make a change, you can do it, right? So let's say you have made a mistake here, window, uh, it's not 150,000, it is only 140,000, right? You can change it. You can change it. I'll do it later, right? If you want late type record, let's say revision 1 or whatever, you can keep it that way also. Revision 0, you can do that. And update, okay? Revision 0. And that's your base 1 and update. You can see the revision here, revision 0. And if you want to do revision 1, because take a copy. And if you want to do revision 1, you can do that. And then you can connect revision 1 instead of revision 0. All possible. Right. I hope you have created this, and then you can expand it by clicking on tiny arrow. And then let's say, okay, you are going to now price this. Okay. One is manually you can price this as I shown you, but you are not going to do it manually now. You are going to use the rate library to price this. Let's say earthwork, because these are the earthwork. Earth excavate pit for foundation, right? And this is your 4,200 per cubic meter. So it's, let's say, Sri Lankan rates. And what you do is very easy. When you create the rate library, in the rates tab here, you can just drag and drop. Update. Simple. Now you can see a link has been created here, right? I didn't type anything. Okay. Excavation for tie beam. Simple. Just drag and drop. Update. Right. And then foundation, concrete. Let's say where's concrete? Okay, here. Concrete for foundation. Right? Drag and drop. Into the rate column, not anywhere else. 35,000. Let's say PCC is not here. Okay, it's here. PCC 32,000. I just drag and drop here. High beams. That is again concrete. High beams. 36,000. And concrete for columns. I didn't want to change. I didn't want to rate everything. Okay. So whatever the items that we have done, so we'll price. Foundation, that is formwork here. So you expand this one. Site of foundations, formwork, done. Sides of tie beam, done. See how it is, how easy it is. Shuttering of walls. No, we don't have walls. Sides of column. Okay, I have missed that out. You can, in the CSV file, you have to introduce sides of foundation columns as well. So I'm not going to put a value here. I just put 4,300 for the moment. You can go combine. And then I'll go to Windows section, for example. Masonry also you can go as long as you have the rate breakdown. But in this case, sorry, rate library. In this case, I have not included any rates for masonry, so I'll leave it like that. Windows, I will go. I'll go there, go. It has to be, I think I have linked a separate file. It's not door type, it's window. So I'll go to this here and drag and drop in here. Drag and drop. And I go back to concrete section. That is only the columns that we have used. Here also 200 millimeter thick slab. Right, I can put the rate here. And 400 millimeter, let's say 300. Okay, so there's no 300 here. So I'll use, let's say 400. If I want to change, okay, now I want to change this one. How do you do that? I want to change this. Can you do this? You can do that if you double click here. You double click here if you want to change it to item code, right? And let's say 200 millimeter thick, you can change it. Ideally, okay, you can change the rates here. Ideally, it is not the place to do that. The best thing is you go to system administrator and change it. That is the best way. Okay. Let's say you have mistakenly put this as 300 millimeter thick. What you do is file, go to system admin, costing, rate light. Okay. And edit. I want to change one of the rates. Which one was that? Yeah, this is not 300. This is 400. So I edit. Right here, I can edit as 400. And I'll leave it like, for the sake of changing, I'll leave it like 600. Okay. Everything else is fine. So I update. Now you can see what happens. Automatically, it got changed. You understand? So I can control everything from the admin panel. System admin panel, I can control all the rates. I can change, I can add. You can see if you want to insert a particular column. Let's say I have not added. So here also I have made a mistake. Like it has to be not door type one. So I change that one to W1. Correct? It's not. It's a window. So I'll keep it as W1. Update. Change. You can see here. You will see here. Change. And let's say I want to include something. You can include concrete columns. It wasn't there. No? So we can include concrete column. Yeah. So Concrete for column. Foam work for columns was not there, I think. Yeah. Here, let's say include, insert, item code, column. Yeah. Foam work for column. Right. And description, shuttering for column. To include the grade group, you can say homework. Right, you can select from here homework. Unit of measurement is square meters. Right, rate I will introduce like 4,700. Done. And now you can see homework for columns also I have added. Right, now update and close. Now you see homework. Here, shuttering for columns there. Now I can drag and drop. Yeah, here. Earlier I typed this, right? So I can just drag and drop now and update. Now you can see, you can play around with this rate library. You can control everything from the admin and it will appear here as part of the rates tab. And then it is a matter of drag and dropping. Okay, can you quickly price this BOQ? And you can do it here itself if you want. Let's say building blinding concrete. You can change here. So double click and the rate change. Now you see what happens now. Take one. I'll see you. I'll show you foundation concrete. Let's say I made a mistake here and I don't change it here, right? So I'll do it here. No, that's concrete. Foundation 35,000. Let's say not enough. So double click and I'll change it to 36,000 here. You see automatically our workbook figure also will be changed. You can see 36, change to 36 automatic. So that is the beauty of linking this one into this rate library into the workbook. So you can control all the prices from the rate library. You can change the rates here as well as you can change the rates from system admin. Costing rate library, and when you want to do the editing, you edit and then you can do it from here as well. Either way possible. What is important is you need to understand the fact that you cannot bring or data, import data from directly from Excel. You have to for the rate library, you have to convert Excel sheet into CSV file. So that is what we did firstly, and then you link your CSV file, or you bring your CSV file into CostX through the system admin, costing and rate library here, and then from here you can say import that CSV file. Then you can link that CSV file into here. So as soon as you do that, the rates will appear here in the rates tab in the workbook. And then it's a matter of drag and dropping. Is that clear, guys? And you can change the rates now. Let's say now you want to change, let's say this is new last year's rate. Now you want to make some updates here. Either you can do it here, or what you can do is you can make a copy of the rate library here, right? Because here costing rate library, and you have created R0 here. You take a copy and make it as 2026 if you want, or R1, okay? And you want to import, sorry, let's say you have to keep some sort of markup or whatever, you can introduce that markup also here. That is another beauty. But here only the cost. If you want to keep a markup, you can introduce the markup of, let's say, 15%. Right? You introduce a 15% markup, and that will be incorporated into the rates automatically. Now you can see all the rates were improved by. Now you have to bring R0 here, not R. Now at the moment we have used R0 here. Let's say close. Now you can see that R0, R1, if you want to use the R1 rate library, it is also there. Then you can delete this and you can link from R1 or latest rate library, and you can expand here like what we did. And then you can use this rate library or updated rate library to price this if you want. Okay, that is also possible. You can't delete from here. You can't delete from here. If you don't want, you can't delete from here. Otherwise, you will make a mistake by having two types of rate library. One is R0, the other one is R1. So if you want to remove one of them, again, you have to go to admin panel, system admin, and then from here, costing and rate library. And from here, you have to delete. Then you will see only that R0. All right. Right. So you don't do any changes here. Okay. You can't do anything. You see only a particular link, which we don't know. It's a default link. because when you drag and drop the quantity, the link is being created. Whatever the changes, you do it from here in a central, kind of as a central panel. Okay, because you have a central library, and from there you can price it. If you want to change it, you can change through the system admin. Or here, if you want to update any rates, you can do that. Double click and just update. That is also possible. Or you can use R1 and then update certain prices and keep it there. And you can apply any percentages maybe for the next year. So that flexibility is given, right? So that is that. Now, let's say you want to measure the R reinforcement. It's not measure. I will show you how to measure the reinforcement maybe next week or so. But if you want to use some ratios, let's say 200 kilograms per cubic meter for slabs and 150 cubic meters for, now when you work as a quantity surveyor, especially consultancy quantity surveyor in a consultancy firm, they will do some sample calculation when we prepare the BOQ, because you will not be able to do very accurate calculation on reinforcement when you prepare a BOQ, right? Most of the cases, the reinforcement will be remeasured, especially in Sri Lanka, obviously, yes. But in Oman, in most of the cases, reinforcement quantity will be remeasured. Therefore, estimated amount will be enough. So in that case, how do you introduce reinforcement here? So how do you calculate the reinforcement or approximate quantity for the reinforcement? So we have to use something called ratios, right? So let's see how we can use this ratio to calculate reinforcement quantities. Now I hope everyone is aware about this pricing aspect, how to link a rate library into a BOQ and then price it. Okay, that's what we did. I hope everyone has understood it. Can you drop a message if someone is struggling? Everyone, Raghu, good. Siva, you're done. No, it's previous one. Is everyone fine with this rate library and then pricing of the BOQ before I move into next one, next concept? If you just summarize it, if you have a rate library in Excel format, you have to just convert into CSV file, and then you have to import that CSV file into CostX. Simple as that, through the system admin, and then drag and drop. Right, now we are going to use, we are going to show you how to calculate reinforcement using ratios. Right, you can introduce certain constants now in CostX. Now you used something called rates here, and you can see another tab called constants. Right, you can see you can introduce some reinforcement ratios. I'll do that. I'll first remove this one, okay, because this is previous batch. What I will do is I will delete this. How? Go to again system admin, same place, and here you have something called constant. Don't go to costing here. You have something called constant. So first of all, I will remove what I have. Now I have to introduce, right? Constant. How do you introduce constant? These are the ratios that we can use. Again, you can use those constants okay. Here also you can type file, system admin, constant, right? Insert, right? Rather than importing Excel files, what you can do, you can import also if you want. Same way, if you have constant, let's say foundation 200 cubic meters per, sorry, 200 kb per kg per cubic meter. So similarly, what we had the rate library, you can have your constants for the reinforcement ratios. And let's say slab 110 kg per cubic meter, right? And then for walls, you have 120 cubic kg per cubic meter. So likewise, you can have a CSV file and then you can import and it will appear here. Or you can just insert, let's say, uh, footing concrete, okay, footing. Footings, I'm using a ratios of footings. I will use a ratio of, let's say you have done a bit of analysis, kg per cubic meter, okay. Um, unit of measurement is in kg then. Footings value, let's say 224 5 kg, right, 225 kg, okay. Folder, you can create a folder, let's say reinforcement. Right. It will come under this heading. That's why reinforcement footings. So let's say insert. You see what happened. So I have created a ratio for folder, ratio for footings. My folder is reinforcement. Right. So footings, I use 225 kilograms per cubic meter. And similarly, I use, because this is substructure, I'm not going to do for the superstructure, same principle. Footings, whatever we had, whatever. Okay, tie beam and column. I'll use only these three, okay? I'll use only these three. So tie beam and column. I will add that as well. I'll go to constant again, file, system admin. This time constant, not the costing, constant. And I'll create another one called tie beam. I'll use the value of tie beam. How much? Say 275 kg. Hold the same reinforcement. Insert. So this is possible even for the rate library. Okay, for the costing also possible, but it will be a nightmare to type all of them here. So better you create a CSV file or create a Excel file first and convert to CSV file and import. So that is the most important, I mean, faster method. Right. So this is tie beam, and plus I'll create another one, tie beam and What did we measure here? Columns. Okay. I'll use columns. Columns value, let's say 100, that's 200. I'm just taking some arbitrary value. You have to find those ratios by doing a sample measurement. You all know as quantity surveys, right? Folder again reinforcement. So I'll use it that way and insert. Now I have 3. Now you see when I create here, right, under constant automatically, you can see earlier I was working on the rates. Now I'm working on the constant. Now you can see the reinforcement. So whatever I have created there, automatically linked here. Now I'm going to use the reinforcement ratio. I want to calculate this. How do you do that now? How do you do that? Right, go to, now you want to put a value here, right? So what you do is go to measurement level, right? Go to measurement level. You have concrete now. You have concrete, okay? Dimension group, concrete. You know columns. You know footings first and drag and drop here. You take everything, yeah. And factor. Now you are going to measure the reinforcement concrete, right? Reinforcement, if you go to rates, you have, sorry, values, constant. You have columns, footings, and beam. This is going to be footings reinforcement. So what is the rate you are going to use? 200. Correct. So what you do is factor, or yeah, factor, you are using 200. You understand? You can use 200 here. Okay, decimals you can do later. We are using the 200 factor to calculate the reinforcement quantity. Right, so that is footings. Then go to dimension group, go to tie beam. Okay, tie beams easy. Right, tie beams, and go to rates. Go to constant and put the tie beam ratio here. Done. And then the columns. Right. You go to dimension group and get all the column quantities like what we did, and drag and drop here. Right. Sorry. So that is your columns, and use the constant here. Columns we are using 200 kg. But you can, if you want, you can copy and you will get the same link. And that is your reinforcement concrete. You don't have to do any calculations here because the total will come directly as a total. Now, if let's say you did a mistake here and it is tie beam maybe or columns, probably it is not 200, it is 275 or something. You just double click and remember this 67,000. You double click here. You can't do that, right? Unless Unlike rates, you can't do that. Remember that. You can't do it from here. Then where to go? You have to go to admin panel and go to constant and reinforcement columns. If you want to change, do an edit and make it like 275. Update. Automatically update those. And you can see here also automatically updates. Right. For columns, it was 200, now 275. And accordingly, the quantity has been updated to 93 tons. So 93,000. Earlier 68,000. So you can change these figures constant by, uh, through the admin panel only. Unlike rates you can do it there, but here constant, you can use this concept to anywhere, right? Especially when you measure reinforcement using the ratios, you can introduce this. Or let's say you measure I beam, structural metal work. Let's say you have I beam. You know the linear meters you can measure from the drawings, and that is what you measure here. Let's say I beam, you have this many meters. Let's say 500 meters, a particular I beam, and we know there's a linear meter weight. Those who have done the structural measurements will know. I beam, H iron, and L iron, and all these sections will have a linear meter weight. So this linear meter weight can be introduced here, in the constants, and then calculate the kilograms later. That is possible, right? Rather than putting the linear meters in the BOQ, you can convert that one into kilograms, like what I did here, right? So what I do is, you go to the next level, in the measurement level, you know the linear meters from the dimension groups, and then you apply the constant, like what do you call, kilograms per meter, linear meter weight as a constant, and then you get the weight, and that can be linked to the BOQ. So let's say if you have I section here of certain size, and you can have kilograms here using the same constant concepts here. Then this has to be, let's say, I beam particular section, and then linear meter weight. So similarly, right? Can you do this one also? Introduce these constants as ratios. Then you can calculate the reinforcement weight of the reinforcement for the substructure, for example, in this case. But I have used only foundation, tie beams, and columns. If you have ground beams, if you have walls, you can introduce ratios for those elements as well, and then get the final uh, through this. You can just apply the constant here. Right? How do you do that? File, system admin, and there's something called constant. Earlier, we used the costing part here and rate library. This time, it's not costing, right? It's go to general, and then you have constant. There you can just type, right? Insert one by one. Insert, and you just insert, like what I did. Column, the value, column, folder, let's say reinforcement, value, you can give the ratio, and unit of measurement is kilogram. Or if you have those ratios in an Excel sheet, you can convert into CSV file and bring it over here. Both are possible. And there's another method. Okay, this is, I hope everyone has got it now. Everyone has followed me. So that is to calculate approximate reinforcement quantities. So I haven't shown you how to measure reinforcement from reinforcement drawing yet. So that will happen soon. But for now, if you have some reinforcement ratios, maybe from the previous projects, or maybe you have done a sample analysis, and you can apply those ratios into concrete quantities to get the reinforcement quantities. That's what exactly I have done, right? Normally, this is how we do when you prepare the BOQ. So you use something called constants and apply those constants into concrete quantities to get the kilograms. So similar concepts can be applied for structural steels, because normally structural steel members will be measured in linear meters through CostX, right? Linear meters, but section wise. And you can apply linear meter weight through this constant to get the kilograms. So we can use the same thing for the ductwork also. If you know the ductwork area, when you measure the AC, if you know the ductwork area, and then you can apply kilograms per square meter, weightage per square meter as a constant, and then get the kg. So there are different techniques in CostX. You can use one of these techniques um, based on your requirement. Right. There's an okay. If you want to do bit of rate analysis here rather than doing rates library, so that is also possible. Or if you want to, let's say, if you want to have material rates, this is BOQ rates, right? But if you want to have kind of material rates as a record purposes, then you can have it. And sometimes it will be useful when you prepare a rate breakdown. So let's see uh, how do you do that. So for that, I want you to in I will give you a file, and you have to convert them into CSV files. Okay, red. Yeah, red breakdowns. Let's say you have market rate. Earlier you had the BOQ rates. Okay. Now we have material, steel, kilograms. Each one is, this is the rate, unit rate, right? Each kilogram is 225 rupees. Let's say Sri Lanka. Concrete cubic meter is 35,000 and 38,000. So let's say these are material prices, not the BOQ prices. Okay, binding wires, because I'm going to use these rates, market rates, for a rate analysis. Probably I don't have time for time to do that today, but let us import these two files also into CostX so that we can do a rate analysis. Let's try we can do it today. So I will give this file also now to you. Please download them and convert into CSV file first. I will drop that one as well. Right. Okay. There's a small question. I can look into that. Just let me see whether I can drop this file first. Okay. Right. Can you download this? What is your issue here? Windows cannot access the specified device. Path of file you may not have that permission access that item. Message is coming from NR. So what was the issue exactly? Can you unmute and tell me, NR? While others downloading the rate breakdowns and converting into CSV file, what is the real issue? It looks like something to do with the CostX software. By mistakenly, have you tried to uninstall CostX from your laptop or anything like that? Because it says CostX exe file. That means your program file. Windows cannot specify device path. Are you not able to open CostX? If you can contact me maybe Monday morning through my WhatsApp number or through the group, I will try to resolve this. It appears to be kind of a software issue, but probably we can sort that out. Probably we can reinstall CostX or maybe let's see. Right, for now, we have to convert this CostX file into CSV files. And you will see then rate library for labor. Right, when you convert this one, you have to convert twice. One is one sheet, right? And then when you save this as, you will see only the labor part. Let me show you. Okay. Rate breakdown. Sorry. Right. This is your file. You are going to convert this one into CSV file. Okay. You have two sheets you can see. Firstly, let's see material. File, save as P60. My case, and but then I have to use as CSV. Done. Right. So I have converted that one into CSV. Okay. And delete this one, and I'll make it as labor. Okay. Now that is saved here. Rate breakdown, I'll make it as rename as labor or material. Right. Yeah, I'll have only the materials. Okay, right. So next one. I'll make it as labor. So there are two sheets. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to save it twice. This one I will save this as a labor. Okay, earlier I saved this as a material, and I'll see only this part. And now I'm going to save this as labor in CSV file. Save as process training. I'll use this one, and I'll say rate breakdowns labor. But I'll have to use as CSV. Done. Okay. So I'll remove this material from that. When I open 60 here, yeah, labor. Just open that, and you can see other sheet is missing now. So that's why I saved twice, because labor part is, when you save as labor, the material sheet is missing. So that is how it happens in calculate in converting Excel into CostX, sorry, Excel into CSV file. All the other sheets will also be disappeared. It's okay. Now you have labor in CSV. I have material in CSV file as two files. I have labor rate breakdowns material as CSV, rate breakdowns labor as CSV. So what I can do is I can import these two also into the CostX, like what we did. I'll just collapse this one. Now I can bring material also in the same way. How do you do that? Same file. Can we do that? Can file system admin. Okay, and costing, rate library. Because if you want to bring under rates here, under rates tab here, it has to be always rate library. It doesn't necessarily BOQ rates now. We have a rate library for the BOQ item, but now this rate library for material and labor market rates, let's say. This is a market rate. So it's a different one. So import CSV value 60, right? Rate library material location default. Okay. And you can see rate library material appears here, and you do the same thing for the rate library for labor. Done. And default location and say okay. Now you can see these two were added, and it appears here as well. So once this is done, you just close this, and you can see rate library material and rate library labor. This is your BOQ rates, and this is your market rate. You can say market rate actually if you want. You can rename this as market rate, right? You go to the panel, admin panel, and change it as materials. Okay. This is labor, you can see. This is market prices for materials. If you want to change it, you can change it. Why I do that? If we have the market rates here in the rates tab, we can do a rate calculation here. That facility also available in CostX, right? How do you do that? Okay, I think I don't have time to do that. All right. So add these two and keep it. So we'll do a quick rate analysis next week. It takes about 15 minutes to do so. So you can use this market rates to analyze your rates. It's similar to what we have done in the quantity column. So if you want to do rate analysis, it has to be this column now, double clicked. And then you can do the rate analysis here. And that rate will appear in the rate column. Earlier quantity column, when you double click the quantity, you go to the measurement level. Now, when you double click the rate column, you can do a rate analysis in this, right? Now, for example, let's say you are going to do a rate analysis for the reinforcement, right? So you double click, and let's say you take 1 kilogram. Right. There's a slight change here, why I will tell you later. Okay, let us do the rate breakdown here next week. And then you will realize when you do the rate breakdown, you have to do the rate breakdown for maybe 1 ton. Then this has to be not kilograms, this has to be in tons. Okay, that is possible. So you can convert this one into tons. For that, you need to introduce this constant in tons. but what I have done is in kilograms. So you need to go and change the ratios, the constant here. Instead of 275, what you can do is 0.275, you can say tons here, right? So for that, you have to go to File, System Admin, and you have to change the constant. I'll tell you why and do the editing, and I'm going to do the other way around, like 0.275. I'll keep it as tons. It and here edit, I'll make it as 0.225 again. Tons. Here edit 0.275. Tons. Now change this to tons. Right, so everything has been changed to tons and the quantity has been also changed into tons. Now this has to be tons. Right, now we can do a rate analysis per ton. Okay, so I'll do that next week. Here, of course, you can do a rate analysis. So what I'm trying to say is either you can use the rate library from here. If your company has a rate library, you can use that rate library to price a BOQ, or you can create your own rate analysis for each item. Okay, so it depends how you want it. Normally, you would like to, if you are a consultancy firm, you will not go through this rate analysis basically because it's a nightmare. And if you are a contracting firm, of course, you will have your rate analysis and then you can keep your rate analysis. You can do your rate analysis here itself. Then what in that case, what you need is market rates. But you need to know reinforcement rates, you need to know concrete rates, cement, sand, material, I mean cement, sand, metal, so block work rates, all these rates, market rates can be there, and then you can carry out rate analysis here itself. I'll show you that next week, right? We don't have time to do that. Right, so that is where we stop. And if you have any questions, of course, I won't be able to answer that question, software issue right now. Please contact me on Monday. I will try to resolve that software issue, or if at all, Tibet also will help you to resolve this. Do you have any questions from today's session? All okay. We basically looked at how to price a BOQ, right, using rate library. And what we have learned is you can't import details from CostX directly to CostX. So what you need to do is you need to convert cost Excel files into CSV files before that. Then once you convert it, then you can import into CostX. How? Using admin panel. So in the admin, you have costing and rate library, and then you have something called constant also. If you want to use constants like to calculate reinforcement ratios or reinforcement quantities using ratios, then you can apply that. Plus, if you are measuring some structural elements, and unit rates can be your constants to calculate the kg. Right? So you can use those concepts into different scenarios, but mainly when you price a BOQ, you can use it. And also you can do your own rate analysis in the CostX, which I will explain next week. Okay, guys, do you have any questions? Are we okay uh, as far as today's session is concerned? If you are if you are not able to catch, right, I do recommend you to watch the video again slowly and then practice before you come to the next one, okay? Next session. Right, can we call it a day today then? If you don't have any questions, thank you very much, guys, and also good night to all of you. I'll see you next
Thank,
week.
thank you.
Okay, good night and take care.
States authority.